In Louisiana, they're called crawfish. And people call them crawdads, people call them crayfish, people call them mud bugs.
Whatever you call them, they're an invasive non-native species that have infested Arizona's waters.
They just start taking over, and one of their primary food sources are fish eggs.
They devour just about anything they can get their claws on. And they're making a mess of Arizona fisheries.
They're called mud bugs because they'll destroy all the vegetation and the greenery, and it'll turn the lake into a big mud hole.
Simply put, it's time to get these aquatic cockroaches out of our lakes and into our bellies. That's the idea behind the Arizona Crawfish Festival, the state's one-of-a-kind crustacean celebration. It's a party, a feast, and a public service.
Fun public service.
That's Rosie Romero. He's the longtime host of Arizona's home improvement radio show, Rosie on the House.
Good morning, Arizona. You're tuned in to Rosie on the House. What a spectacular Arizona Saturday morning it is.
A Louisiana transplant and an avid outdoorsman, Rosie's the guy who got the Crawfish Festival cooking after reading a story in the Arizona Game and Fish Department's flagship publication.
I've been a subscriber to Arizona Wildlife Views magazine since its inception. And about January, February 2001, there was an article in there about the menace crawfish were becoming to the Arizona waterways. And it just seemed logical to us Cajuns that if we could teach Arizonans how much fun crawfishing is, how easy they are to clean and cook, and how delicious they are to eat, we could solve Arizona Fish and Game's dilemma with the crawfish.
Rosie invited his listeners to Willow Springs Lake, and about 200 people showed up. 2,000 were there the following year, and the crowd got too big for the venue. So the festival moved to Camp Verde, but it got all of its crawfish from Louisiana. And in 2010, the event was discontinued.
It was in a location where you couldn't trap the crawfish, so it just lost that conservation effort.
Today, Rosie Romero, Rosie's son and radio co-host, is bringing back the conservation, catching crawfish at Willow Springs Lake with friend and business partner Bobby Avery.
Nice.
Together, they started the Arizona Crawfish Company to give the Grand Canyon state a taste of their Cajun culture and to conserve Arizona's lakes and streams by removing these aquatic invaders.
Hey, now that's a little more like it. That's the amount of crawfish we like to see at least. There's a good 2 dozen in that one. Well, this is a basic crawfish trap. We like them because they're expandable. They spring load, they pop out. They've got a nice pocket for your bait, and then you get your crawfish out of here. Once you set it in the water, the crawfish just eventually crawl around, find their way in. They eat on the bait, which is what we have here, some processed crawfish bait out of Louisiana. Pretty convenient.
Romy and Bobby set 50 traps of different shapes and sizes in the lake overnight. Now it's time to find out how productive they are.
Let's go get them. You're gonna have to swim right to get these guys fishing. 50 traps can be pretty hard to keep track of, so what we usually do is we'll tie 4 to 6 together in a string, and then we'll mark them. So we only have to remember where about 10 of these buoys are instead of trying to remember where 50 individual traps are.
Some traps are light, while others are loaded.
Oh, nice.
That's a good 3.5 or 4 pounds of crawfish right there. Oh, another fish in that one. Here's the fun part. Trying to get the fish out without getting pinched too bad.
When the guys find a really good spot, they often add a special ingredient to their traps.
We'll add a little extra smell by putting fish-flavored cat food in the bait in the trap as well.
Whatever it takes to catch as many crawfish as possible, because in a few days, Romy and Bobby are bringing back the Arizona Crawfish Festival to Bison Ranch in Heber-Overgaard.
Here we are, 2013, 11 years after the original one. Our vision is within 5 years, having enough people in Arizona trained and with crawfish trapping that we can put enough trappers on the lakes to extract 10,000 pounds of crawfish annually.
That's a lot of crawfish. They won't trap nearly that much this year, even with the help they're getting from trappers at other lakes. But they should have plenty for the festival, and to make sure, they've ordered an extra supply from Louisiana.
I am a big fan of them. Romy's favorite way of eating crawfish is étouffée. My favorite way is to boil them up in some good Cajun seasoning with some lemons and butter.
Look at that.
Anyone with a valid Arizona fishing license can catch crawfish for their personal use.
We're going to get a couple of these other traps pulled in and go in and get them put on ice.
There are limits on the size of the trap, and with a few exceptions, it's illegal to transport live crawfish. They must be killed or packed in ice.
Try not to get Romy pinched right here as we do this.
But if folks follow the rules, they can catch as many as they want, and if they're lucky, eat as many as they can. The Arizona Crawfish Festival had a little something for everyone. But the star of the show was this bowl of spicy goodness.
Yum. It's my first time and I think they're awesome.
You boil them up into your water and your spices for about 2 minutes. You get your pot rolling and then you let them soak for about 15 minutes. And the spicier you want them, the longer you let them soak.
That's the goodness, the tail.
I eat the tail first and suck out the head.
I don't know about that.
Sucking the head is where all the flavor is, and a lot of adults, you can't teach them to do that.
No.
Some people like to suck it out of here whole. I don't. I rip it apart.
All right, I will.
What you're doing when you do what they say, suck the head, you'll peel the tail off right here, and you'll just put your lips around this part, and that whole cavity will be full of juice that it soaked up from the boil. So you're really just getting a big shot of seasoning. You're not getting any brains.
Tell that to this woman who didn't get the memo on the proper technique.
No.
It's a dirty job, but somebody's got to do it.
At the end of the day, the festival served up about 700 pounds of crawfish that came right out of Arizona's lakes.
It's exactly what we want to do, teach people that it's a food source and it's not that hard to trap, and it's a whole lot of fun to eat.
The number one question I'm asked when I'm out in the public, invariably, is when's the next Crawfish Festival?
By the looks on these faces, not soon enough.